Hi friends, today as I had promised you, I am going to be playing with these Artisto. Look at how beautiful their packaging is. I always appreciate their packaging. This is their 72 premium set. I've already kind of introduced you to them. They're the water soluble color pencils, a soft lead. And you know, the way that I have in the past been able to tell, you know, to me what a high quality watercolor pencil is the colors stay vibrant even after they're activated with water. And the big one for me with watercolor pencils is when I add water, it's a smooth application. They're soft and they're creamy and they blend well. So, and this is probably the biggest one. The pencil that I'm putting down is fully dissolving when I add water, and it's just creating this nice, beautiful, smooth wash gradients, just like regular watercolors. I'm going to today use my Meeden travel brush because when I'm using watercolor pencils, I like a stiffer brush because it tends to mix a little bit better. So watercolor pencils are great for portability. I love them. That's why I really like them. You can draw with them. You can, you know, use them to paint with. So this is the box here. When you open it, they do show you all the colors. I've already kind of showed that to you. I thought their color choices were beautiful because I've had watercolor pencils in the past that, you know, some of their colors just didn't work for me. I even thought it was cool. They have a gold here. So there's their blues and purples. They're kind of cool blues and purples. Look at the pinks and the browns. So I thought those were really, really pretty. Another little tip is when you're sharpening your pencils, sharpen by turning the pencil sharpener, not by turning your lead. I learned that a long time ago. And that seems to work pretty well for me. And then the paper I'm going to use, because this is the Artisto brand, is going to be their Artisto paper. So there we go. Let me show you a few different ways you can use them. And then we'll go ahead and paint for some of these. So a couple ways I have used them in the past is let's see. Let's choose a red. Let me see here. Yeah, let's choose a red. Sometimes the color on the pencil lead isn't the same color, or it's the same color, but it, you know, doesn't quite show up the same way. So like for this one, let me see if I can find this 501. So here is the color of this pencil. Now, if I was to swatch that out on here, this is called Lava Red. It's pretty close, which actually I'm a little surprised because normally, sometimes I've gotten watercolor pencils and they're quite far off. So there's the color. So it's actually pretty good. Let's just wet that. So that is really close. And I can keep glazing. That's another thing you can do with water pencils. You always want to go just like watercolors, light to dark. So if I kept adding layers, it would be close. But as you can see here, it's closer to the actual lead. So anyway, my point being, just swatch them out so you can make sure that they are, you know, what color they are. Let me show you. Layering is, again, how you want to work, or how I work with pencils is I just keep layering. Well, let's start with dry on dry first. So you're going to see this here. So let me just create this kind of this square here, and we'll just do dry on dry paper. And again, this is the Artisto paper. 140 pound cold press. You know, I love it. It's just like the little journals, but larger. These are the 9 by 12 sheets. So this has a lot of texture. See that? Has a ton of texture. Dry on dry. And let me just write that above there. Let me find my pen. So that is one technique. And if you like to draw, this is a good, you would be most likely doing dry on dry if you're just drawing. The next one would be dry on wet. So let's wet a square here. And this is going to give you similar to watercolor. So if you're working into watercolors, this could be a really great way to practice. And again, I love these because they're really portable, and I take my paints and things everywhere with me. Okay, so now I'm just going to, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's very soft compared to this. So this is really soft. Now, another thing I can do is wet and wet. I just dipped my pencil in water and look at that. Wet and wet, and it's soft, it's blendable, it's blending in here. So you've got that wet and wet. You can kind of do the same thing. Now, if I was to do, let's do another wet and wet, because wet and wet is my favorite. So that's kind of why I'm going in a little bit more detail. I could use my brush to pick up some of the pigment and then go in here and look at that. It's just like wet on wet with watercolors. So I love that. Let me just write that in there in case I can share this page in the community section. So wet on wet. And then this is also wet on wet, but I used the pencil, so it's softer. This is wet on dry. You can see very crisp lines, even kind of textury. This is soft, and then I colored in here, and it's kind of soft. If I use a brush to go wet on wet, it's even softer, okay? So let's just layer a little bit. So I'm going to, let me use a different pencil because this one now is just a little bit wet. I'm just going to clean that off a bit. So we'll use this green, try and keep it festive here. Let's see, they have so many wonderful greens. I love it. A558. I'm going to color that in here. Let's see where that is so we can take a look at it. Where is it? 553. Here it is. Forest green. I like my dark greens. This looks like a really nice kind of a mix between sap green and just a little bit warmer. So let's wet that. Ooh, yes, that is definitely a sap green. That's gorgeous. I think that's going to be my go-to green in these. Look how beautiful that is. Okay, so let's do our next. Let's just layer a little bit. I'm going to use my yellow. This is A511. I believe they're referring to this as light yellow. So I'm going to go dry on dry. Hopefully you can see that. And we're going to layer just like we would with watercolor. So I'm going to layer a blue over this. So I'm going back and forth, and you could even go like this. And this way kind of tends to, I'm turning my pencil. Lay that down. Let me grab a blue pencil. So these are so versatile. That's one of the things I really love about these. Here's a blue.
They're calling this, let's see, what color? Denim blue, kind of cool. I really wanted a ultramarine blue, sapphire blue. Oh my gosh, these colors, this is the 72 pack. They also have a 48 pack you might like. Let's see what one this is. Prussian blue, nice. Okay, we're gonna go with the denim blue. So if I color over this, it's turning a very beautiful, cool green, as you can see here. Isn't that beautiful, that green? I'm gonna go out beyond the yellow so you can kind of see the blue, you can see the yellow, and then that beautiful, it looks very similar to this sap green, or they're calling it forest green, I'm calling it sap green. I'm gonna go over that. Oh, that is a gorgeous green. Now, so that's dry on dry. You see lots of texture. Now let's just wet that. So here's the yellow. And you always work when you're blending light to dark. Ooh, look at that. That is a gorgeous green. Now that reminds me, probably because of the blue I used, of an emerald green. How gorgeous. Yes, I love that. So talking about quality in pencils, look at how nicely that blends. Once I wet it, they just melt into that water. And that's what I look for. So you've got dry on dry here, which is texture, which this would be great for grasses and things. This, look at the beautiful blending there. Love, love, love that. Okay, let's see. Next, what we can do, let's do a gradient, a wash. So I'm gonna let's move from red to orange. So I'm going to grab that red again that we've been using. And I'm gonna show you one more thing here too in just a second. And here's a beautiful yellow. I think I'll use that lemon yellow. And let's do, so that is your layering or your glazing. Now let's go with a wash, which you might want to do in a petal, and I'll show you that in a minute. So let's lay down our red. This red is really pretty, very Christmassy. Look at the red and the green together. And then I might get a little lighter as I go out. And now I'm going to come towards it with my yellow. There's a little bit of water there. So I've got my yellow here. So this is kind of like a side grip. You can cover more area. I will tell you, I don't do backgrounds with my watercolor pencils. I just go to my watercolors because it can be too big. So I'm going to overlap these a tiny bit, which I don't know if you can tell, but it's turning kind of an orangey color, which I love. And now watch what happens when I add that water. So I'm going to go light to dark. So there's our lemon yellow. Keep rinsing my brush. Ooh. Look how beautiful. That is gorgeous. What a beautiful wash. Just gonna keep going here. Oh, that is so pretty. Love it. See how nice that blended? So that's a gradiated wash. Love it. Now let's see how well it does with lifting. I'm going to use that Prussian blue so you can see. Let's see what that does. So we'll didn't really work on this a whole lot, lifting, because I don't know if I've ever really tried to lift with my watercolor pencils. So I'm going to get quite a bit of color here. That's a gorgeous Prussian blue. And now let's, ooh, isn't it fun? It's kind of like magic. Oh yeah, that is nice. Now Prussian blue can be kind of hard to lift too, but let's see what we can do. So definitely lifts like that. Let's see if we can use a brush. Oh yeah, that's working pretty well. I like that. There we go. I'm just spreading out the edges I wanted to see. So definitely can lift there. And Prussian, you know, blues are going to be a little bit more staining, but I definitely got a lift. And even I softened the edges there. I didn't work that a lot, but definitely was able to soften those edges too. So I think maybe a different color might even lift better. This is a gradient. This is glazing or layers. There we go. All right, so we've covered some of those things. Let's see. Another thing you can do is, I know years ago when I started with watercolor pencils, they encouraged me to sharpen my pencil with a knife. I never did that. I always used a sharpener and turned the sharpener, not the pencil. But the other thing you can do is if you have water down, I don't have anything to do it with right here, but you can kind of scrape off shavings, and when it lands in the water, it will kind of spread really beautifully, kind of melts into the paper. So, you know, these definitely are like a hybrid of drawing, of watercolors, of all those wonderful things. Okay. The great thing about these two is there's a lot less cleanup than watercolors, because all you've got, especially if you're using this is the Meeden one, which I really like theirs. You know, you have this, there's water in here, so you really don't even have to have a container of water. You have paper and your pencils. Another way to use these that I have done is, I'm going to do it on here. Let's see, let's get this. Let's go into that red. Pick up a lot of that. Now I've seen this kind of done a few different ways, but this is the way I do it. I've seen people put the color pencil on paper, but that doesn't work as well for me. And then take from the paper. So I've got a little puddle here. And now you can use it identical to watercolors. Look at that. There's a little flower. Go in there. So that is an option. Again, if you don't want to pack your watercolors, you can always do that. Now let's see if I can mix up a green real quick before that dries. I may not be able to. And there we go. I'd really like to get a darker color in there. Again, I'm kind of rushing here. Don't know if I can get that in time. Let's see. How about a little bit of purple in there? Kind of late. It already started drying, but you get the point here, how beautiful and versatile these are. And you definitely get that blend, just like watercolors. So I love that. Let's practice this gradient with a petal. So what I'm going to do first is draw a petal. And actually, let's just go right into drawing, because what I was going to do is, oh, one more thing. This is a good test. You know how I love practicing values and tones, and I always encourage you to use at least three values in your painting so they don't look too flat. Let me show you this. So this is just a little bit flat, but if I add in a darker color, it creates some interest. So the darker color pops out in front, and that's going light to dark, and these lighter colors kind of move to the background. Okay, these are so rich and creamy, you guys. Good old Artisto, I just love them. Matter of fact, they're so rich and creamy, they're kind of dripping onto my chair here, and I can almost bend that lead. It's so nice and soft when it gets wet. I like that. Okay. Tones and values, really important. So let's do this. Let's see, what color should we take? I think I want to see a pink, one of their pinks. As you know, I love the Quin Magenta. Ooh, look at that color. That looks like opera. They call it dragon fruit. What a fun name. I want like a Quin Magenta. Let's see what they call this. Ruby red, but I kind of like that. So I'm going to practice my values. You should do this in all your paintings. So I'm going to get my darkest value here, really, really dark. And then as I move over, I'll get a little bit lighter for that mid-tone. And then even lighter for my lightest value. So we've got those three here. Now let's get those wet, and you can kind of see that transition, almost like a wash. Okay, let me see, here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna do along the side here. So there is my darkest value. I'm going to wipe off my brush. Here's our mid value. And now here's our light value. Look at that, just like watercolors. And I left it dry on dry so you could kind of see, but look at the different value tones. So practice that in your paintings. All right, let's just do a little poinsettia here. Or some type of flower. So I'm going to color the bottom in my darkest value. And then I think what I might do is just go into that with like an orange. Let me find my orange here. I'm loving these colors, you guys. They really have... I will open up the 48 set because I really like all the colors in the 72. So I'm just going to color over some of that yellow, or red rather. There we go. Let's add some more here. I'm going to draw my guidelines so I don't get too wonky here. Go in the bottom with my darkest value. Over here, these are real, you know what I found? Really, really relaxing. And to be honest, I'm showing you how I might use them, but I really feel in art, I never think there's a wrong or right way. Definitely there's guidelines, but when I was in college, it was impressed on me that things I was doing, oh, that's not right. Don't use white paint. Don't use whiteout, not whiteout, but masking. And I think, do your thing. So just finish these. Then I'll add in that yellow. don't limit yourself. Who knows? Maybe you'll come up with some really cool new technique, right? And then you'll be sending it to me and going, Dad, look what I did. Look what I discovered. I love blending my colors on the page, on the paper. I think that's really cool versus mixing always in my palette. So watch what happens here. I'm wetting my pencil, which I really don't have to put in the water because I have water in the chamber there. And you just squeeze this and it will come out. But watch this. Oh, look at that. I'm going to wipe off my pencil. Going from the light part into the dark, and now a little bit upwards. Look at that gorgeous color. So beautiful. I keep wiping my brush because I want to make sure that pinky color is pretty intense. Look how beautiful. See how well that blends? Oh my gosh, these are great, you guys. And I believe today there's still a sale on them. Wipe off my brush. I'm leaving bits of white space in there too, if you notice. I'm a big fan of the white space. But I'm getting this beautiful blend of the yellow and the red. Oh, that's so pretty. I'm leaving a little bit of that texture in. You could really kind of keep going over it and get rid of it all, but I kind of like it. Now let's add in some behind it, and I'm going to go with the traditional red that we had here. So let's just add that in. Ooh, now that I got in the water, so it's a little bit soft. There we go. Another one here. And I'm doing those a little bit lighter because they're behind the main ones. Another one. Our poinsettia is beautiful. I just shared a video of a pinkish one that I loved, of course. There we go. Now let's get that wet. Ooh, look at that. I'm going to go from light down to the dark. So I keep wiping my brush off. Oh, so pretty. This is really relaxing for me too. When I was sitting out in the desert the last week, it was just so easy. I didn't have to worry about water spilling over because I used this. I had a napkin. I carried my pencils out to a rock and sat there. Oh, look how pretty. Could have went a little bit bigger. And then in the middle, I think I will do, this was that Christmas green. Some green in there. Just like watercolors. And then let's add some green leaves. And now I'll use the other method by picking up the paint on my pencil. And let's see, let's add one right here. Ooh. Blend out those hard lines. There we go. Love it. Do another one. Let's color one in, and that way you can see. So we'll do another little one right here. They both work really well. Maybe a leaf here. Just coloring dry on dry. And then maybe a little yellow over that. Little yellow. Ooh, that's pretty with that yellow in there. That's really pretty. Now I could go back in here and do some hard lines. I'm even using the excess paint on my brush to kind of go over that. Isn't that fun? Let's see, let's do one more leaf here. I think I'll use that green here. Just color it in. So I hope this is giving you a lot of great ideas on the different ways. It's very, like I said, I look at watercolor pencils as kind of this hybrid of watercolors and the ability for detail and texture. I'm going to rinse my brush off, go back in that way. Oh, so fun. And there we go. Look at that. Now I could go into these. I left some of the texture in those very deliberately. Let me see what their darkest green is. That is moss green. It's a little bit darker than the fern green. And let's go in and just draw in some veins. Now, if I did this while it was still damp, it would just melt a little bit and wouldn't be so distinct. Kind of like that. You could do that with all of these as well. So these can be really versatile, which I love. And look how beautiful that is. Before we go, I wanted to see, there's a gold in here, and I'm really curious. By the way, I ordered a gold pencil metallic set. I don't remember who they were by, but I'm kind of anxious to get those and see what those are about. Let's see, let's just do a swatch here and see what this gold, that would have been pretty for maybe some of those leaves as well. Let's see what that does. Now, interesting, this gold color it's kind of a metallic and it doesn't seem to be blending quite as well. Interesting. Now, there's a couple reasons, so I'm going to try it one more time. That could happen. If you're pressing too hard on your pencil, it can make marks in the paper, and that can definitely create some lines. So let's try that again. Let's layer. I'm going to put some gold over these. See what happens. It might not show up. Let's see. Oh, it is. I don't know if the camera's catching that. We could even go in here with another layer of red. This is where that layering comes in. Let's see what that does. So I try not to press too hard with the tip. Number one, I don't want to break my tip. And number two, I don't want it to scar the paper. So that definitely darkened it up. So you can do those layers just like you would with your regular pencils. And I did want the center to be a little darker. Where's that pink? Let's grab our pink. Then I wanted the inside petals to be darker than the outer ones. Let's see what this color is. This is called cerise red. Let's see what that does now. Ooh, see, that's going to show up a lot. Well, this is getting dark, so. Let's see what that does. And this again is where, you know, for me, it's kind of important to have that little bit stiffer brush because it's easier to activate the crayon. So what this did do, which I'm liking, is it made these darker, which then pushes back the lighter ones. So yeah, I like that. All right, well, I hope this gave you, I'm gonna be doing more paintings. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me below. You've got dry application, wet application, layering, glazing, gradients. Gradients are just so wonderful for you know, those beautiful petals that we do. Just love it for that. And you work lighter end down to the darker side. Or that's how I tend to do it. But look at that. So pretty. Can do another one here. Just using the water that's on there. Picking up some of that paint I still had in my palette. Blends and softens really well. Just using paint off my brush again. I mean, I could just play with these for hours. They are so fun. Just experimenting with them. Let's get a little darker in the center. That pinky color. Ooh, I like that color. What is that? Cerise red. Looks pinker to me, but sure is pretty. Let's go even a little darker. Let's try some of that Prussian blue. Yeah. So fun. I could do this literally for hours. Going in. So these pencils, like I said, they're really great for some of that detail. Now I'm just kind of playing, which, you know, I encourage you to do so you can kind of see. Now, if I didn't want those pencil lines so dark, I could just go in and wet them. And they would soften up. So play with it. I can't recommend these enough. I just think they're so fun, and I'm going to be doing some more things with them. Got a big drip there because they're just too much fun. All right, everybody, I hope that was fun for you. I'm definitely going to be doing some more things with these because they're just too fun. And when I get those metallics, I'll be showing that to you as well. And I think those will be fun too. Could go in and add some detail here. As you can see, I could just keep going here, which is, you know, nice for those of you that like that detail. You definitely, that's an option here. You can do that. And if it's too hard a lines, just go in and re-wet it again. All right. I hope that was fun for you, and stay tuned. I'm going to be playing with these more, and I will see you all soon. I will link these Artisto, the 72 pack. Let me just show you, you know what, actually for a minute, let me show you the 48 pack. I didn't open that one yet, but look at the beautiful packaging on that one. Let me get rid of that plastic. Really pretty. And make sure, again, you swatch these out when you get them. So here's the colors. I maybe don't see quite as many pinks. Still has a lot of good neutral colors. Yeah. So that is the 48. Here's the 72. And then let's see the second layer here. Oops, these shifted a bit. I was traveling with them. Oh, so you just get 2 layers. So with the 72, you get this pack, and then you also get this pack. So you get a few less pinks, about the same browns. Very similar. I think you'd be fine with even the 48 set. All right, everybody, I hope you try these. They're so much fun. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon.